What's up, Embody? I'm pleased to have Luke Whitestone name Thompson in the Yours Truly virtual studio to practice some conversation craft here with us today. Most people watching will know this, but it must be said. Luke is a longtime consumer, participant, leader, and friend of this little corner of the internet, the TLC. Luke's been around when the corner existed mainly in group chats and text threads on Discord, discussing the latest Peterson, Peugeot, Vervaeke videos on meaning, or further synthesizing the work of Paul Vanderklay's synthesis of those characters in Homeroom. And he has not only watched it evolve into its current state, but helped shape that evolution with his use of the StreamYard YouTube live stream invitation link. And in his partnership with Nate Heil and the other fine folks over at the Grail Country channel. As a result, this has given Luke a lot of status, attention, and recognition as he's put forth his desire to embody a type of digital hospitality, and what he would say, Peter Rollins would say, is in the church of contradiction. Luke seeks this conversation, relationship, and the desired ethos of this space. However, it contends that he would burn his channel down if he began to see it as a source of seeking attention, clicks, views, subs, and identity. In our conversation today, we will cover this tension on the medium and message of YouTube with its click culture and attention economy, as we both strive to navigate these digital waters with care and wisdom, and ask if maybe there is another way. But first, speaking of, give this conversation a like and a subscribe if it's meaningful to you, and become a channel member to help financially support yours truly. Luke and I come from similar evangelical backgrounds, as we discussed in our first conversation last year. Link to that will be in the description as well. And as a result, we'll also take time to speak to the conversation Paul Vanderklay has been pushing forward related to the Emergent Church movement in evangelicalism from over 20 years ago and its relationship to this little corner of the internet. So now sit back, clock in, start some chores, or hit the road and join us as we practice some conversation craft together here today on the Yours Truly podcast. So without further delay, I give you and present to you all Luke Whitestone name Thompson. Hi, this is Christian Baxter, and you're listening to Yours Truly, a place we go to think out loud. Thompson.
Hey, buddy. That is the first time I've listened to your intro on normal speed in forever, maybe?
Hello, welcome to the Yours Truly.
Mm-hmm. Well, also the music. The music is so different. Whenever I listen to music, I have to like, whoa, change it, back to one.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, man. We were talking, I don't remember. Oh, we were watching the Ruslan and what's his name? Atheist, cosmic skeptic.
Yeah, Alex O'Connor.
We were watching their kind of saga related to the Wes Huff, Joe Rogan, Christian YouTube apologetics. And, you know, even in that intro, when we talk about like evangelicalism, Christian culture, and all the like, what we've seen transpire on YouTube, like these threads, these cultures that propagate. I made the comment, I was like, I think Alex Connor is Christian YouTube now. And I don't know, it's this weird space, and we're on it, we're engaging with it, and at the same time, like some of the critiques of like YouTube influencer culture, like I mean, here's a great example. Girls Gone Bible, is that?
Oh my gosh. I was telling Chad about that the other day. He had never heard of it.
They were on Fox News this week.
I'm sure they were.
They gave the invocation prayer at the post-Trump concert and then Kid Rock hit the stage next.
Dear Lord. Close it out. That's all we need to know. That's it. That's the spirit of, how is that not just, this is honestly nothing to say about Girls Gone Bible. I haven't watched their stuff. I think I watched one clip with like the impulsive guy.
Yeah.
About swearing.
Janko, George.
Yeah. And whatever. It's fine. I mean, I don't need to drag anybody down. But like, people aren't watching that show for its wisdom and making them holier Christians. I mean, I don't think that's the main reason they're watching that show.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
interesting.
bet more people are watching it than listening to it.
Well, yeah, because the girls are, they're pretty girls. It's a takeoff of Girls Gone Wild. They're redeeming Girls Gone Wild from the aughts and the teens, Spring Break, Panama City.
Glory to God.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I mean, and then there's this little corner of the internet and Jordan Peterson and Orthodox people and Paul Vanderklay, and it's all in the water. I mean, how do those two worlds, even like, with the Ruslan, Alex O'Connor, how do they engage with you and with the corner? Like, how does that fit?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, because I mean, that was what we had talked about as far as you and I having a conversation. I can make you full screen, don't I? I don't have to pay attention to the comments. There are none.
It's just you and me, Luke.
I know. But I'm so used to just like the tiny little screen over here. We were talking about the Ruslan thing, which was driving me crazy, and him with Alex O'Connor. And
What drives you crazy? Like, yeah, get into that.
well, I think so. Like, as you were talking, this is how I would approach it. My last live stream was on what is communion, because I think that's one of those questions that gets at the heart of all these things. Or like Jeff Pace asked a long time ago, like, what is a Christian? Because people talk about Jordan Peterson or whomever. Paul was just talking to Spencer Clavin, and they're like, when's Jordan Peterson going to make the leap? And when is he going to become a Christian? All of that is caged in propositional tyranny. Like, it has to be. Because what does it mean to be a Christian? It's to self-identify in your conscious, like, propositional awareness that you assent to certain abstract ideas. That's what they're talking about. And if you asked them, like a Sunday school answer, very directly, like if they were listening to this conversation, they'd say, no. I'm talking about like behavior and conformity to Christ. But the point is like, when you're not paying attention to what you're saying, you don't talk that way. You say Jordan Peterson isn't a Christian yet because he's not fitting these certain identity markers that you have. So then that, like, again, back to what is communion, because people will talk about, because that popped up in a previous live stream, which is what gave me the idea for the what is communion, because people will say, well, TLC isn't communion, it's not church. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of assumptions and smuggling and things going on there. What is church? And then here's the thing, is you're going to find between Protestants, Catholics, and Orthodox, there's going to be some areas of agreement. There's going to be some areas of disagreement. But then why would TLC be outside the bounds of communion? Or why would, I'm going way off stream, but like Ruslan and all these guys, this is what it is. I think Christian YouTube is participating in the medium of information and metrics and clicks. Whereas TLC, I think, as nature, by its nature, is participating in relation. Because I think it's about the people. I think it's about knowing as you are known. It's not knowing as just information, which is something that you can't. That whole Ruslan, Alex O'Connor thing was just like factoid, historicity, debating information. It's like as modernist as it could be. And I think it has almost nothing to do with true, genuine Christian faith.
It's so interesting because I'm making the assumption that you spent a lot of time maybe watching apologetic stuff 10 years ago.
I sure did. I spent decades doing that.
Yeah. So, and I'm excited. I've got a conversation coming up with Bethel McGrew, and we're going to talk kind of about that.
You're just meeting Bethel, huh?
Well, I've seen her probably 6-9 months. I don't know, like on Sam's channel. But yeah, I mean, dude, I'm just working my way through. I'm not.
No, this is fine. I just say that as a joke because Bethel and I knew each other. Actually, outside of Sarah Hardy, she's the only person in the TLC adjacent, because she doesn't participate in this either. She's not communing with any of us.
Yeah,
Um,
well, with Sam, she does with Sam.
she does with Tripp. And she knows Sam a little bit. Her and Tripp are closer. But
I'm just saying she wrote a thing about the Wes Huff, Joe Rogan,
okay.
on her Substack, and it's allowing me to kind of look back and redeem some of that stuff because I have my own critiques when you're in. For me, it boils down into the telos of winning, and it could even go into like the telos of winning souls, which is attached to
Mhm.
evangelicalism's telos of getting the good news out.
Converting you into
Yeah,
some version of me.
yeah, and so I have, but I don't think it's not maybe a part of the journey. And because, like, I mean, if you look at Rogan's journey, like he had Stephen Meyer on, and I was watching Stephen Meyer a decade ago about intelligent design and all that stuff, and it's like
Yep.
he had him on 6 months ago or something,
Mhm.
and he's on a journey, and it's a part of that journey to like it's unlocked certain critiques or criticism. So I don't think it's without merit. I just think that if what I see now with young 20-year-olds treating uh, presuppositional apologetics between Orthodox Protestants and Catholics like Dungeons and Dragons, like casting spells and using their like here's my warrior move. And Chris Saint Chrysostomus, I don't even know the church father's name. He's blowing Aquinas out of the water. I play that
Mhm.
card. I don't know. That's how I feel like it's. And I would say it was more angsty because they can get all that information in a 10-minute YouTube video now, but like it, there's a relationship to it. But if that's like all it is it's then it goes into a winning. It's just about
Yeah.
winning.
Well, so it's probably I don't see what you think of this. Is it akin to people criticize TLC or online communities or being online too much or the internet in general and AI? It's that kind of tech doomerism. But yet myself and you and as participants in this world, we obviously believe there's something redemptive here. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be here. And so despite all the uh, potential pitfalls and problems with it, we think that it can be navigated. We can navigate the pattern with wisdom and uh, and benefit ourselves and other people. So then maybe people think they can do that with the information centric modernist Christian YouTube space. The problem, the issue that I have, how I generally think it is like, and apologetics did this to me, even logic did this to me, kind of trampling down logic by logic. I think if you follow any path faithfully to its end, if you are faithful in your pursuit of anything, if it's a false pursuit, it will bottom out and there'll be the U-shaped journey redemptive arc to it. And so, yeah, follow the information, follow logic, follow apologetics. That's fine. I mean, you search the apologetics because in them you think they teach about me, but it's about me. You can miss all of that in the apologetics. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. I mean, I'm not going to talk you out of it.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of it is because how close to you in your 20s were you doing? Was that a big important party? And I see it now on I see all the young 20, the redeemed Zoomers and
Yeah.
beyond, like that. But so there's that side of it when you're trying to take your faith seriously as a young man. But then there's this. Like, I'll go back to Rogan, like when he's like maybe just yeah, he rejected faith. Like there's like these two poles of where that um it's coming in, because you and I maybe in our 20s we were really wrestling trying to think if I can just get that one proposition to win, that one ring to rule them all, then I can be secure in my belief and I can move on, or I don't know, something like that. And that was when, in my experience in my 30s, that where I bottomed out on that. uh they became a lot less, that argument of trying to win became so much less important than the doing of just, or the being, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that I was ever I was definitely a conversionist, and I think that I had wrong-headed ideas about theology and doctrine, but I think I was, like I'm sure I do now, but I've changed and evolved on some of that. But I think for me, it was always I don't know, it was always a pursuit. I didn't think that I was just going to get somewhere, because that's one of my things. Like I never really deconstructed. Like as far as like having an existential deconstruction where I lost faith. I didn't. I
But
think a lot of,
you
huh?
deconstructed out of like Reformed evangelicalism.
I mean, I deconstructed out of certain doctrinal paradigms, but I never. One of the things, like that scientific method kind of think that's within my consciousness Congress says, like, well, if something is not provable, if like you can't prove it to be wrong somehow, then like it's a tautology, and you can't even entertain it. Like it's something that you shouldn't even hold to. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure my belief in God is that.
Hmm.
Like, I just don't even know. Sometimes I've been uncomfortable with how much I just like wouldn't even, I truly can't even imagine what it would be like to not believe, which sometimes troubles me.
Yeah, do you ever think about that in relationship to like experiencing suffering you haven't come in contact with?
Yeah.
Like that's maybe that, like, that it's not that you have any reason to doubt God, but it's like, have I gotten this far in life and not like hit something or so? I don't know, like those loss of child, those
Right.
types of things that sometimes, but it doesn't seem like, for some people it's not a personal issue when they deal with like the theodicy. It's like an more of like a very broad, like, what about the people killed in the tsunamis and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, but it's not even like my general framework in theology, and I mean, I think I believe it. I don't think it's just theoretical, though, is that um like your suffering is what lends toward your transformation. And I mean, this stuff's in the Bible. Like, all
mhm.
these things happen to Jesus. You think you're going to do bigger things? Like, those kinds of things I don't think would upset my faith. I think I would have moments like David and Job if I encountered very intense suffering, where I would just be like, God, I really don't like this.
Mm.
And I think this is pissed. And I don't particularly like you right now. But like, it's not, intense suffering is not something that's antithetical to my
Mm.
understanding of God.
No, and maybe that's where the kind of American civic religion related to certain deconstructions about that, we can trying to square God with the idea that suffering could happen, when we're kind of told if you work hard, you can have the good life and you won't have suffer. There's like there's some
Yeah.
ideal version of life in our culture that, and some of that's changing, of course, but um, I I just kind of wondered, because I had that conversation with Jared, the atheist church auditor, and that was
Yeah.
kind of stuff we kind of touched on. But I don't know. I want to shift to the and we can kind of come back to this. But the part about like playing with the medium of YouTube with,
Mhm.
you just crossed 500 subs. You just
I did it. I
so
did it.
I mean, I can tell you how I process the click stuff, but like, I'm curious for you, like, what is your genuine relationship to that? Like, I know what you've talked about,
Mhm.
being frustrated against it. It's hard for me to imagine not having to contend with desiring attention, desiring clicks, all that stuff. It's like, oh man, if I do one more stream, I'll probably bump over 500. Like, those are the things that come over to my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about your relationship to that. as yeah.
I mean, I
mentioned.
think there's a, whatever. I hate it when people reference these things, but there's like a dopaminergic. I mean, when you get notifications or anything, social media works that way. I mean, there's an addictive kind of energy bump high that comes with that sort of thing. But I don't know. I probably have some areas of blindness there, I'm sure. But part of it for me is like it's a little bit of a Neil Daedalus thing. Like I just want to make friends and I want to meet people where they're at and whatever they need. Um, but a lot of this is even the apologetics thing. It's the common thing that I think a lot of people in TLC have is I'm here because I can't have these conversations anywhere else. And so I'm really looking for people. One of the things that really see, like there's no metric for this, but truly the thing that makes me the most happy in my live streams or online stuff is when someone breaks the fourth wall. Like that's for sure that's the thing that gets my attention.
Mm.
Like CC Moole recently, I'm just like all about it. Just watched her most recent video. Like I love that stuff. Now, does that mean that like she's going to stay at the top of my salience landscape and my attention and that we're going to become good friends? I mean, I don't know. Like I think that's where I'm kind of like PVK or like Chad or anything. Like I'm just doing what I want to do and have fun. Like PVK was saying this the other day, like what the metrics that don't really matter on YouTube, like subscribers don't really matter, view counts don't really matter, because a lot of that is just, and I've said this before on my streams, I'm just like, if you like, I feel like this is largely true. Like if you don't want to watch like 75% of my video, just don't watch. Don't watch any of it. But then that's me just being a dick. Because like you can do whatever you want, it's fine. I
I
want
don't.
engagement,
Yeah.
active, real engagement.
Well, that's the interesting thing is like they may not mean anything like as much to the algorithm or something, but I think they mean something to one another. When we are establishing a value hierarchy, we use these things. Like if someone has a comment and then I go to their channel and it's like Cadell last, and he
Yeah.
had 16,000 subs, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, he's doing something. It says
Yeah.
something to me. Someone goes to your channel. Oh, this guy's got 500. He doesn't just have 15 people, but like there's been a sizable group of people that have said that this is valuable to me. In regards to how it works on the algorithm is a separate issue. But
Yeah.
and so we do use that's one of the things I've thought about is we do use that to value, like if Paul wants to have a conversation with somebody at 30,000 subs, it's his resume. It's like a resume of work, regardless of if you're using it in hopes that it'll like feed your channel to the algorithm or not. I just think that that's real.
Right. No, I mean it's something. I mean it's a great question. Like what does 500 subs tell us? Or like someone like I don't even know. Like I was trying to look. I don't tend to make just regular videos that I upload to my channel because I mainly just do live streams. And so I was just going to look like
But
videos. How many does oh, I have 196 videos.
so 200 videos.
So then so you go to somebody's page and you're just like, okay. Like I was thinking in my head, I was running thought experiments. I'm like, what would you think if you went to somebody's channel who had like 12 subscribers and they had 200 live streams? You just be like, I would think just like,
Yeah. That's a good point.
what are you doing? Like no one's paying attention to this. Like so then I'd be curious.
Sure.
I'd probably want to go check it out and just be like, what is this? What's going on?
Yeah, it would be a curious thing, but it's also I would find it hard to keep. That's like the feedback response is like that they are hijacking or using in all of us, creator, consumer, participant, like that brings you back to the space. I just think that it is real, and that we can look at people that are really like going hard for the clicks. And I guess because, I mean, you don't make thumbnails. You don't, you're purposely not doing that, but you're still garnering attention, and people are subscribing so that they can kind of keep up or put you in a place that they know they can find you again, like that. And it is positive feedback, I guess. And that's the thing that I think that I'm trying to contend with on like I can't remember. I don't know if it was like for I did Michael and had a conversation with Michael Sartori, and then I had one with Paul Anleitner, and that was after I had posted like a Protestant goes to divine liturgy or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that video got like 3,000 views or 4,000, like, and I got probably 10 subscribed, 15, I don't know. But then when I had the next couple of videos, I lost subscribers consistently because the people that probably subscribed to see me become Orthodox are like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
That's my assumption. I could be wrong. Because I don't know. You don't just get hey, they watched this video and they unsubscribed. You don't get that information.
But that's almost what I mean, right? Like nobody would ever, like, people are not going to subscribe to my channel and stay subscribed if they don't actually either like me or get something from what I'm doing. Like it's the whole person podcast thing, which I'm never going to do. But like it's about the person, because it's not content. Because like if it's just about some content, some title that you see,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to stick to just feeding you the content that you want. Like check out an Orthodox church, or like
Right.
I was thinking about making a post about this where like I deconverted from Orthodoxy and now I'm Protestant, or like I deconverted from Protestantism and now I'm Orthodox, or whatever like that. I was wanting to like do a little experiment where I took a bunch of screenshots of those titles, screen grab them, and then watch the videos and then see like, is it like a somewhat like, in my opinion, like a bullshit clickbaity thing where you're just trying to get somebody to click because it's feeding like some sort of
it's part of
tribal instinct
or cultural salience at the time.
Or is it just like a personal narrative where like, this is my story and this is why I moved? Because like this, I find the second interesting. The first I find to be boring and or angering.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'll just play back with what's been going through my mind, because I think I've been looking to kind of have this conversation, and I think you're a good person to have it with, because I think we're coming at it from different places, and how because we're both at the same time, like you like have an idea and you plan something and then you put it up, but the intention, but also the anti-intention, like relationship. So like the Protestant goes to Orthodox church, I've had like a dozen conversations with Orthodox people on my channel. So it does fit a narrative. Like, oh, well, I'm going to actually go check this out. Cause there's no Orthodox churches like an hour and a half from where I live.
Right.
And so it's like, and when I'm at home, I'm going to my own church. And so, but it's like, yeah, I'm curious. I want to experience, I've never gone to that. So then it plays into the cultural thing that's also happening at the same time. And I spend some time like making a thumbnail, like, but I don't have the expectation.
It's a beautiful thumbnail.
Thank you. But I don't have the expectation that, and like the thing, like, oh, the other thing that then clicks in is like, are you going to be captured by your audience? Like that, you've heard of audience capture? I think it's like, oh, so then I went back to doing podcasts, and there were people that I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but that's the only empiric thing that you can kind of go by. Right. So anyways, yeah. And just even playing with the tech for me is part of the game of the gamification of it. And so I don't want to feel guilty about that, in the sense that if I was trying to do it for the sake, it's like, hey, here's this thing, and this is a way that people play this thing.
Yeah.
But there's also, I'm playing this thing and I'm not telling you I'm playing this thing or something like. I don't know if that makes sense.
So I actually, my perspective on you is because we've talked about this a little bit here and there, and I think that's great because that is your, like, what you're doing is your version of your own personal exploration. I don't find it to be disingenuous at all to yourself. And I don't think you're doing it just to game the system in and of itself. You're doing it out of a genuine curiosity to just play with it and see what's going on. Because that's really my modus operandi, if that's the proper Latin. But is I'm following in the path. Follow me as I follow Christ, as Joe Rogan, as I follow Paul Vanderklay, as I do. I'm just doing what I want to do.
Yep.
And like Chad's doing that. I just because like even my live streams, I've been doing that ever since TLC started or before. Like in any group, I mean, I've always been involved with group chats where I just because I constantly have things running through my head. It's very much like what Paul does.
Yes.
But there's not like visuals and things. He's more pastoral with it, where he's got PowerPoints and stuff. But I'm just sitting there riffing and talking, and then for some reason, although very few people seem to know what I'm saying, people still watch. I don't flip and understand it at all. And but then you find all these cool people. Like I've just been talking a bunch to See Money lately. We'll probably do a recorded conversation, and I find that guy just fun as hell. Because like I'll say something, and then he repeats back to me like what he's hearing, and I'm like, yes. What the hell? What just happened? Did an angel just come that can understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was very evident to me with him, and I think you should have a conversation with him because I was going to try to, but it's just like you're already there.
He said this but like he just doesn't want to do a randos at this point, and I think he has good reasons for that.
Yeah,
And
but
so
he can
I'll
engage on
respect
other
that.
things. He can engage on these other things.
Yeah.
And that he definitely, even in the communion one, there was like a real back and forth. But there was one earlier, I don't remember what their title of it was, but because he was engaging my conversation with Rigel in the live stream a little bit, and then that's an interesting part of the space because it's like I would be interested to know in his not rando, how much and what he has consumed in the last 5 to 6, 7 years, that has formed, because he was throwing out a lot of Jung into that conversation, and I felt like I was tracking with what he was saying about the identity and the self and the ego and these types of things, like and I think in some ways that's a little bit about what I'm aiming at with YouTube is, and I think some of the like the pushback that I've given you as some of the stuff, and whether like it's right or wrong, I don't know, to give you any pushback about clicks and status and blah blah blah.
That's good.
But it just comes from a previous experience of like, back in the MySpace days and maybe a Facebook page day when I was trying to promote my band as a worship leader.
Right.
And it was like, oh, this isn't about me. It's about the Lord, like,
right.
And there was like I wanted that to be true. Right. Like I wanted that to be true. And that's like there's an ideal in the Christian frame of, and there was probably like a lot of John Piper backing that, like, like the glory of God, and the Reformed, it's not about me. I'm just a wretched sinner. Like it's about,
right.
And I guess there was a piece of that I found that just didn't work, and that I had to, like, I wish I could have just said, no, I really like this. Like not necessarily quote unquote attention, but the whole thing. I really like making a little music page, and I really like putting something out there and they're being like, hey, yeah, come to our church because you have this thing out here that you've done. And, and instead of it just being like, if the Lord wills, it's only,
Here's what I think it is, Christian. This just came to me. I think this is true. It's like, what good does it benefit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Which I don't think that verse is saying don't strive for big things. Like, don't try to gain the whole world necessarily. I don't think there's some implicit pietistic thing in there where it's just like kind of how everybody wants to absolutize the rich young ruler and say you have to give away everything you want. Like, there's a kind of weird hyper pietism to that. I don't think that's what that verse is saying. But what it is saying is like, you cannot forfeit your soul in the pursuit of that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. If you want to pursue success and whatever that means for you, it doesn't mean necessarily like for Rogan, that's what he said all the time. He's like, I was never trying to do anything. I was just talking to people I wanted to talk to that I found interesting and have interesting conversations. And it just happened to coincide with success. And he has not forfeited his soul one iota because he is 100% the same dude that he was before. He just got very successful.
I think so here's the flip on that is I think I spent so many years covertly trying to like, no, this isn't about this. And then like, oh, but man, if I could just get that conference, if I could get that event, then.
But that's because you weren't an integrated person. But like now you've gone through some suffering.
But yes, that's true. But to come back into the space doing that.
Yeah.
I still have to contend with like 10, 12, 13 years of those patterns like going on. And it's like, okay, for me, I have to remember actually the more important telos or whatever, like place in the hierarchy of my intent is like you were talking about with Rogan, seek your true curiosity.
Yeah.
Like be your honest, not what you think will get you the version of success.
That's man.
Yes. And I hope that gets clipped. You had a cute little face. That's man. Is to seek that like an honest curiosity, like, so like when you, or the other piece that I've come to is this, with the word opportunity. Like I've gone through these cycles now. It's like, I could look around the DLC and be like, oh man, I see what he's doing. I'm really curious about that. I want the conversation. I want to make this loop and come back, and like, oh, Luke, Chad, Grim, Sam, like this, and all the people, random people that are watching, random people that comment, right? People I met at Symbolic World. And then there's a situation where it's like, I look at people that have status in this space and I think, oh man, I want to have a conversation with them. But then I don't actually know what I want to talk to them about.
That's probably a tell.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, until I know, until I come across something in their conversation with what they're doing, and I haven't been 100% like perfect on that, to be honest, but it's like, that's what I'm trying to understand, at least within this frame, and with YouTube and status and all that stuff, the podcast bro game, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, but go ahead.
That's something I don't have. Whatever. I just for whatever reason I don't have any desire for it because I just can't even make myself want to do that. Like do a thumbnail and like I was hearing. Oh, Alex O'Connor was talking about a conversation with Chris Williamson where he was telling him like how to do it. And I'm just like, fuck it. My eyes glaze over instantly. I'm just like, could not care less. And it's not because so two things. When you were just talking, what I thought of was Jordan Peterson's like, pay attention to what makes you feel weak. Because that's what I was thinking. Like when you're pursuing that thing with all those old patterns that you have, are there times where because if you're attuned to that stuff, you'll feel like this doesn't feel right.
Yep.
This doesn't feel right. And I think then you need to just maybe at least table it for now It doesn't mean that you can't revisit it perhaps, but like it's just wrong for now. The question I have for you is like, in what ways do you think that I can, without sacrificing my soul, pursue success in this? And I don't know, somewhat
No.
there's personal reasons why, like if I became a professional YouTuber or something, which like I don't even know if that's what I want. Like my wife would just be depressed. She would just be like, "Fuck it, God, I don't even want to tell people what you do. It's so ridiculous."
Yeah, that's funny. You know, we're probably in a similar state right now.
She's just like, "I can't even. We have to just be roommates for the rest of our life. I've stopped being attracted to you. This is ridiculous."
Yeah. So, however, my wife, we used to do a lot of music together, so we were kind of in that, like in that thing. We enjoyed doing some things like this together, like produced or creative, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because
For
my
you,
heart can't be it can't be just content stuff.
yeah.
Like
Well,
it's got to be developing relationships with people or building shit or something.
well, that was the thing. The thing about this that interested me related to this conversation for you was the hell stuff within
Mm.
David Bentley Hart. You know, we talked a little bit about that on the phone too. Was like, okay, he's kind of the I guess I don't really know, preeminent academic or scholastic voice on universalism and Christian. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
he is one of the big ones in Christianity at large, but definitely within
So
Orthodoxy. Yeah.
okay, so and you know, it's like you can spend all day trying to okay, here's what I would say. Like that conversation that holds deep meaning for you. That regardless. Like eternal conscious torment. I don't know what was going through the stuff, maybe the questions that you were asking. Who was the conference that you posted this a long time ago? You've posted it a couple times, but it's like when you asked that question and the guy was talking, and then that was like the last time you went to like evangelical.
Oh, that was a Pete Enns conference. He like
Yeah.
came to Minneapolis, yeah, and I just
So,
went to. Yeah.
so and that ethos, and this can kind of also go into the emerging church thing too, but like when I think about you and I think about that part of your journey and that conversation, it's like, you know, you're instead of feeling like I'm trying to put all this together because there was a lot there with the David Bentley Hart, that whole you promoted it on Twitter quite a bit, you know, like you were doing work. You did some like planning. You did because it mattered. It mattered, right? It has meaning,
Yeah,
and
it's an important topic for me. Yeah.
yeah, and so the success of you is having a like you can spend another 10 live streams trying to talk to some people that come up and you're doing the digital hospitality thing, but like that conversation's not going anywhere. And it's like I've maybe come to a point where that conversation I would actually appreciate having with somebody and even being known, because this is something I care about so much, to partner that the meaning and the journey that I've been on with that theological reality and in the youth, this medium. And I think there's interesting things about decreased friction with the digital on being able to do that. And okay, this guy was willing to have a conversation with me, and I respect his work. I've read his books. I've tweeted about him, and it's like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know if you see my fanboy background. You know, it's like
See your bobblehead.
yeah, that's my kids got me that stuff. So, but I didn't. My cross is at our church, and so I was like, I gotta throw something up there. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. So success is opportunity to take something I care about and really be able to dig into it in a way that is meaningful, like that furthers the meaning of of that journey in your life. And it's not going to happen through just the revolving door of digital hospitality for that specific thing.
Yeah. Okay, so so it's kind of funny. You know, we talk about the spiral, right?
Mhm.
And how it's not just a circle, it's a spiral, and these
Mhm.
things come and change. So like so there's a couple things I want to lay out in response to that. Hopefully you find this.
That's okay.
Sorry,
Whatever.
I'm just getting a
We can do
text.
it.
Okay, shoot, now I'm really thinking about that. My plumber, it's like asking a question about the bathroom, and I'm just like, oh shit, that's like the only thing I think about pretty much outside of practical kid things and then theology. It's this damn bathroom. Go away, leave me alone. Um, so this is a big shift that I say. So one of my recent Lukeisms that I really like, and I'm going to stop apologizing about being self-referential. I don't even care. If you know, it's my own sacred words. So, the person is the nexus and locus of all meaning, right? So like the facts of history can change. The facts of history are always going to be what they are. Facts, the information doesn't change. The meaning can change based on your personal relationship to the facts. And so meaning is always centered in the person. It's not like a subjective thing. I mean, if you want to get into like Kierkegaard, radical subjectivity, whatever, but it's personal. You are the perceiver of the meaning. Meaning isn't going to be found devoid, like an objective meaning. There is no such thing. There isn't objective meaning. So the person is the center of it. And I think Christian YouTube and modernity all focused on information and just bits and just and we need to move into this realm of meaning. And I think so. Like, what's funny? I've been talking to C Money about this stuff, and so one of the things I'm known as, right, and this comes up all the time, is like Luke's anti-propositional, or he does, you know, anti-propositionalism, anti-confessionalism. But what's funny is, like, to your point about the hell dialogue, I'm tired of going round and round and getting tripped up on the same things. I want to actually move up the spiral and have better conversations about that. But in order to do that, we got to get pretty gritty in the propositional. And guess what? I don't think the propositional is bad. I never have. I never have thought it was bad. It's just not the main thing. I've always just meant that the propositional is embedded in a context and in the personal meaning of it, because the fact, whatever fact or the proposition, like you can read this book or this sentence and something will hit you about it. 5 years later, a different thing will hit you about it. 10 years later, you might view it completely differently. It's the same sentence.
Yep.
And so to answer your question, like with the hell conversation, or even, this isn't going to be like all I do in TLC, but I can definitely see that there's going to be, it's not going to be like academic, because it's still going to be just like kind of folky people I meet through this space. Because I don't think academics know how to do this in the way that I'm talking about it. But
Agreed.
like, I want to talk to people like C Money and try to level up the conversation. And some people aren't going to like that, because I don't know. This is something we talked about in that last conversation too, is like there is a weird thing in America, and like our intense egalitarian individualism, where like we really don't like hierarchies. And like some people aren't going to be able to participate in like high level propositional conversations.
Me being one of them. So but that's my other point in this space with the digital, the lower friction to move between hierarchies, is that you don't actually have to sacrifice completely the quote unquote lower level conversations or the desire
No.
but we're tricked into thinking that what I'm saying is like everything kind of turns into, because you can get into our attention can go, I only want this level, which I'm not downplaying that, denigrating that, think that's wrong. I think I already said, like, you're not going to find that until you actually pursue that in a way. So, but I think we have thought that these things are mutually exclusive. Like, oh man, and Paul is like the example, of like gaining status, gaining attention, and still like, well, he did a rando the other day, and he's on your communion, or no, it was what's Rail Country, Lance was doing,
Sid one this morning.
yeah, it's like, and he's doing his laundry or something. I don't know what he's doing. It's like, so that to me is the interesting relationship, but like it's one that I've looked at. Like I kind of came into TLC looking at it. I wasn't like embedded, and I came looking at the thing, and I was contrasting that to previous Christian spaces, conversations, cultural jargon, and it's all really designed to kind of get you, more butts in the seats, more bigger opportunities. And again, I'm not saying all the things are wrong in some of those cases, but it was almost like it's mutually exclusive. And because of the digital, like, I still drop into a Discord talking to people, don't even have a YouTube channel. Like, I don't care. I'm driving to my 5 hours, and it's like, oh, this is a cool conversation, like, and then, but I can also be like, hey, this person on YouTube, they've got some clout in this, like, I want to aim because they just talked about this, and I mean, like, those two things don't have to be at odds with each other. And I think that's a little bit, and I think like you're wasting your time completely if every ounce of your energy isn't put into this thumbnail and this guest and this that's the churn that I think you and I both are like critiquing. So anyways, that would be my.
Yeah, who's that? Do you know? So two thoughts that came up, but do you know who that? Have you seen on YouTube that weightlifter? This is maybe where our algorithms differ. Who like used to be a diver, but he's not. He doesn't really do. Sam, what's his name?
Is he the one that I think so that goes to the grocery store and he's just a vlogger?
Yeah, I think
hardcore
so.
Vlogger.
What is it? Sam Sulik? Yeah,
I think so. Super.
But like he's just super jacked and very juicy. But he's a big boy. He's just like,
But
but
doesn't he just like videotape himself in the car and then go into the grocery store? Is that like he's a vlogger?
I think so. I haven't watched a lot of his stuff, but my understanding of him is like he went, like, he's YouTube internet famous now, but he basically did it through not trying at all. Like, I mean, he was just he's lifting a lot, but see, here's the thing. Like, he wouldn't be YouTube famous if he wasn't jacked as hell.
Yeah.
So like he's succeeding in some way.
Well, and that's that's the part of the journey. It's like, oh, he just all of a sudden happened to the discipline to do that fed into another discipline to do this. And I would say my only critique on that would be the Shia LaBeouf, like, I pay a lot of money to look like I don't try. Like, him not trying. I mean, that thumbnail was pretty try. And it's again, I'm not against that. I'm not against that. I just say that you are, or like,
be honest about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because I go back to my conversation with Food Truck Emily when she was like, "Oh, look, and there's Christian over there. He's trying real hard." And I was like, "Yeah."
I remember when she said that. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved your response to it. See, I'm not wearing this overshirt because I'm trying. It's just because I had a tank top on because I was hot, but then I don't want to wear a tank top.
So it's like, I got to think about this a little bit.
You got it, a little bit, but
anyways, so I just think as we're playing with these tools and with engagement and and the other piece of it, like from my vantage point, I know people have their own ideas about how this, but like Peterson, Vanderklay, like that happened here, whatever here is, it happened here, and we're here now. But to be here, you have to contend with what it means to be here. And all of that's at play. Everything we're talking about is at play in this space. The spirit of attention, the spirit, but also the spirit of conversation. And anyways.
So, but don't you think at some level, like, because I saw you were going to ARC, you big shot. Are you? Because this is one of my. This is one of the reasons why I don't want to be successful or have a lot of eyes on me for some reason. Because it's a Because then I think like, what's that? Like, what would I? If you're aiming at something, like, what would I get from that? It's just like money. Well, I don't really want money from this. Like, if that happened, whatever, that's fine. Or like attention where I could talk to. Because I genuinely mean this. Like, if I could, I don't want to have a sit down conversation with Jonathan Bijou or like Jordan Peterson. Like, I don't want to.
I don't know what I would say to them.
I mean, I would have lots of stuff to say to him, just like any random person. But like, I'd rather talk to you. I'd rather talk to Chad. I'd rather talk to C Money. Because like this is where the rubber meets the road, I think, and actually talking about relational ontology and personalist knowing. Like, if you say you believe that shit and then you don't act like you believe it, you don't really believe it.
That's true.
And Peugeot doesn't know me. He doesn't know me from Adam. He knows jack shit about me. I want to make the branding clip of the one time he was on PVK's live stream. And I was like talking at him, doing my thing. And I said, like, Christianity can be summed up by like kenosis by kenosis. And he was just like, and he just like giggled and he's like, okay. And like, that was it.
Well, so
like I shot my best shot and he just
And he
water off a
giggled at
duck's back. Did not care at all.
Yeah. I could tell you a story, me shooting my shot with him in Symbolic World. But before that, you mentioned the ARC thing. So, and this is being recorded the day, but I'm doing my live stream tomorrow about it. So,
okay, yeah, I think I saw it on the algo.
Yeah, my thumb. I spent a lot of time on that thumb. Speaking of, like,
yeah, it shows
a few months ago.
Hard.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. Okay, you're like, what would I say to these people? I don't know. I told Jordan Peterson, thanks for your courage. It meant like his courage meant something to me 8 years ago in the culture war of just like, what the hell is going on? Like, and there's a lot of other parts of it, but that's what I said to him. I don't know. Like, I don't even know about that. But here's the thing about like these little things I threw up, partially because my computer died. Like, it just is now a dead screen back there. So I threw something on it. I threw my Symbolic World VIP backpack up there. So going to ARC, I mean, I'm on YouTube. I spent 7 years on YouTube listening to this stuff, more than watching sports, more than hanging out with people. And it's like, well, what am I? So do I just like pretend like this isn't a big deal to me? No, I like, it is actually. Yeah. And I think that there's like, I mean, there's good things involved with what those guys are doing. And people, speaking of propositional tyranny, like all the 25-year-olds that Jordan Peterson led into the church, they have all turned their back on him now. But that's
really?
Well, just like, yeah, like, there's problems with what he's. Oh, yeah, probably you don't agree with him on something, but
yeah.
All right, what am I trying to say?
What are you trying to get out of ARC?
Is that I want to continue to go to the source. I want to, like, not that they're the source of all meaning, but the source of like this little phenomenon of YouTube, like Symbolic World. Like, I remember Peterson and Peugeot's like first recorded conversation, or at least the first one I saw a long time ago. And all that's shaped my brain so much. I read a autobiography or a biography about Jung, and I went like sitting there alone. Like, and also you have to understand where this stuff found me. I was like so low by myself, and these little voices about like taking responsibility and like, what did it mean that I saw this image of a dagger? Like, people that I talk to, like, and then I'm talking about like symbolism and metaphor and reality and substrates and all that stuff like begin to like form me. So it's like, it was like the most meaningful information for me on YouTube. So it's like, I want to continue to follow that thread and see where it's going culturally and religiously and all these things. And I'm not going to like, I'm not going to like performative contradiction, like act like it's not cool because people don't think it's cool anymore. It's like, you know, I wasn't watching Marvel as much as I was watching these guys, you know, so these are my posters like in my room. I don't know.
So is it like it?
That's
So
part of it. That's part of it.
Okay.
The other part is to meet people and to network.
Okay. For
more conversation, to be a part of this thing. To be a part of it.
But at a certain level. See, so like I guess this is what I'm thinking, and this isn't like a judgment on you versus me. It's like let's even, I think TLC is downstream of not Jordan Peterson. I think it's downstream of Paul because of the randos. And I think TLC is what I most care about. I admire and appreciate Jordan Peterson, and if I ever met him, I would probably say that. But like, this is part of the thing of like Rogan or Jordan Peterson and everybody wanting to go and talk to him and meet him. What usually it is either somebody wants to say thank you for the way you've helped and changed my life, or they want something from him. You know, like Peterson or Rogan will say that all the time. Like, I got this business idea or whatever, and you can just tell, like, you could tell it's like that's one of, I don't think it bothers him that much, but that's one of the things he probably doesn't really like that much about his fame thing. And so I'm thinking like, but even Paul, so like I know Paul pretty well, right? Paul Vanderklay, and I communicate with him a little bit, and we can shoot the shit on a live stream or something like that. That's all fine. But like, I don't even like, if I could talk to Paul once a week or like, he's not one of the people who's closest to me in the corner.
Here's what I would say. The other piece of it is like, and I think you even said this in a live stream about like building stuff. We should like the people, like this is a part of building something. So it's not, I got like almost 100 subs for going to Symbolic World and doing the little bit of stuff that I did. And then I posted that thing, like that's real. And I don't know what to do with that. When I asked the question, I had somebody ask me, "Hey, I'll just be honest. Hey, do you like could you use some money for your podcast?" Like I had somebody ask me that. And I didn't answer him for a month because I didn't know. I was like, "Oh, I could get another camera. I could get I need a." It's like, what did I think would actually be the most benefit is actually to go to ARC. That's the conclusion that I came to.
Okay.
And so I was like, that to, you know, if you want to help me go to that, I think that would be, because so like when I got on here and my third interview was Jordan Hall, because I was like, just like playing them. Oh, like, look, people do this and they make little montages. Oh, you become a Christian. Billy Graham saved. And then he was like, oh shit. I didn't realize, like, I thought I was just like playing in my little corner of the internet, and it gets into his algorithm, or he's like Jordan Hall conversion. Who knows? He's Googling himself or whatever. It's fine. And then I met him at Symbolic World, and we had lunch together. And so that's real too, and that's building to the person and to the relationship. Like I wasn't just a 2D conversation about, you know, Bitcoin. I was like, real, and we exchanged something I think that was pretty deep relationally between us, and it's like, okay, so this, to your point of that, like, and people, you know, like I look at, I'll say this. So I built a band. I had a band. I had a brand. I did all that stuff. I've done all this before. Like that's not I don't want that to be a secret. Like, and it was devastating that I undermined that whole part of my life. But you don't get to just go play music at churches and get paid for it, or go do these things just because you want to, or you like talking about doing that. Hey, I like the idea of playing music at churches. You have to build something that people can look at to then say, I want to, like, and I would argue that you've built something, whether you consciously have or not, you are building something, whether you're consciously building something or not, that interfaced in that relationship with Grail country and attention, and that having that conversation with David Bentley Hart or whatever. There's pieces to that, and I don't know. So that's a part of it for me, is like modern worship culture. I was a part of that. I did that. I wanted, I went to conferences about that stuff, and I have certain critiques and thoughts about how that went for me, being from a town that nobody cares about. Where are you from, Baxter? Little town. And they're like, okay, next conversation. Okay. And I'm still there. And
I think you're on a roll here in Little Rock.
here in Little Rock. Do you know that song?
I do.
I love that song. I don't know. I'm going to ARC. I want to, keep connecting with people that are there. And I do believe that there is a connection between the relationship between this stuff and these guys and what they're doing. And through the nexus of Paul, but like, what did most people want to talk to Paul about? Was like, yeah, there was in the water, like all that stuff's in the water. And so,
well, with Paul and the randos, though, like it was all like they were talking about themselves, and there were a lot of ideas, and it was related to Jordan Peterson, but it's like so do you know the John Mayer lyric? It's just like, who do you love, me or the thought of me? Me or the thought of me?
I like that. That's great.
Yeah, and it's that. Like if I'm gonna do, I like Peter Rollins. I like pyrotheology. If I'm going to build a YouTube platform, it's going to be one where if you're here for the thought of me, we're going to burn this shit to the ground.
Well, so that's good. Like, I think yet, he's a good example. Like, I think that you probably would have a lot to talk to him about. And again, it's
Peter.
Yeah. And what's this thing, like, there's the value of what is worth your time and versus other people's time. Some people would only look at status conversations as being worth valuable time. And I think what the TLC and the culture of that is saying, that's not the only truth about your time. And the idea of sacrifice, the idea of giving, like, what was it, Jess, that kept having randos with conversations with Paul because he knew at some point those would go, like the ability to do that would go away.
Yeah. So
like
he was just filling up his Calendly. Yeah.
Yeah. And because more people wanted wanted something of Paul, and the randos are an act of sacrifice, because he could call Spencer Clavin, who's on the Daily Wire now and all this stuff, and get a conversation with him, promote his book because he liked his book. And he even says, like, I don't really usually want to talk to authors because unless I really like that, what we went to earlier, like, this book is my favorite book from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to have that conversation with the person who wrote his favorite book from last year. So I mean,
Paul's kind of my model. Like I would probably do it almost exactly like Paul. It's almost like Paul sometimes intentionally, like sometimes when he's putting out videos where he's excessively talking about the TLC or like all these little niche things, it's almost like an intentional subterfuge to his channel.
Yes.
And I'm just like, hell yeah, boy. Like that's the most punk rock shit.
But it takes discipline, and it takes an acknowledgement of your spirit and what you're like, and that pastoral heart, like, and yeah, I'm with you on that. And you don't have to say, if I was going to build something, you can say, I'm building something in the spirit of Paul. Like, that's how I'm trying to.
That's what I'm going to start saying. I am building something in the spirit of Paul Vanderklay.
Yeah, like,
just to weird him out mainly.
But is it true?
I mean, yeah, I suppose. I think, well, I'm a big believer in, I've said before, discipleship. People get triggered by that, but essentially it's just mimesis. Like what I think is when you really, I think this people pretty much operate on admiration and respect, which is somewhat involuntary. It's working at like subconscious levels. And so if you see someone that you admire or respect, you're not choosing to admire them. It's not like a choice of your will. You just do admire them and you respect them. And imitation is like the highest form of flattery,
Yeah.
because that's mimesis, because you're just like, I admire that something in this person I love and I want to be like. And
Is
that's,
good. Is
yes,
goodly.
yes, I think so. And so, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. Like the things that I most love about the channel, and I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but like Jordan even talked about that. When people come and like C Money's been talking about this, and I don't want to talk about him too much because he's like a shy guy. But
Salience. It's in your salience.
yeah, it's just new. But like he was saying, this is a corner thing, and it just happens to be the most fresh one. But he's just like, this, I've been wanting to have these conversations my whole life and talk to people about the stuff you guys are talking about. And that's it. Like, it's hard for somebody like my wife to even understand. She just sees it as like, this is my version of playing video games or something.
Or hunting.
Yeah, but like with hunting, she's like, but then you'd be making meat, not meat she wanted to eat. But my family's picky when it comes to meat. Like I remember we got deer once, and it was just like it was
No
a
one likes
battle. Yeah, my whole family's just like, ribeyes. Ugh, can we have hamburgers? And I was like, you guys need help. But I'll pray for you. But when that happens, when people are just like, I felt virtually not alone, or
it.
I was helped by the conversation that you had, or like pick and choose comes on at the end of the universalism talk, and I'm like, one of my favorite parables in the Bible, man, is leaving the 99 for the one. Like, I'm that person. Like, this is my understanding of Christian universalism. If like somebody's in hell, I'm in hell.
Mm.
Like, as long as there's somebody in hell, I'm gonna be there. And like, that's not, that's because I follow Jesus, And so like, it's not, I don't know. And we're just the weird kind of people that have to, for some reason, have to talk about this stuff. Some people don't
Yeah.
need to talk about this stuff.
No.
And that's
And
okay.
that was, I mean, conversation craft. Like it's because I was trying to, find it, same thing. That's I was looking for that, and back to Paul allowed the conversation to happen about these guys. He allowed like he made a space
Yeah.
for the conversation to happen. And that space is where it actually began, which is here. Like
Virtual hospitality, baby.
yeah, digital, virtual, like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll point you to do you know that he's a Greek, he's like an Orthodox guy, but he's Greek. He was on John Heer's channel recently, and I didn't realize he has like 100,000 subs.
Holy shit. Give him my name. Give him my contact.
He had a conversation with Jordan Hall this week. He released it, and it was amazing. But he Poo
Poo-poo?
Puho, I don't know. Let me find it. I've got it here.
Pavel?
Pavel.
He's Russian.
Oh, he's Russian. Okay. Well, he had a conversation with Jordan that was just like,
Oh, I'll have to check that out, because people at church have been talking to me about that, and his conversation with John Heers is very good. Like I like the way
I
that his
didn't
brain
catch that
works.
one. But
Yeah.
it was mainly he unlocked something for Jordan in the way that things seem to like really solidify, coalesce into some really clear things. Anyways, I wanted, before we're kind of winding down here.
Yeah.
What's your thought on TLC as Emergent Church 2.0 as we close it out?
I mean, yeah, I think that kind of is what it is. Like the Emergent Church was basically a spiritual, non-institutional movement that came out of the church of people that in a variety of ways had some experience with Christianity. I mean, that's a little bit, it's the beginning of deconstruction, ex-evangelical, post-evangelical stuff, but like it's right around that time. And I think, the nuns, we're all like, most of us are those people. A lot of us are the people who left or deconstructed or became atheist agnostics and maybe came back or whatever, or became California Buddhists. And then some of us are people that stayed or that shifted for whatever reason. And yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. But I don't.
But it's on like the reconstruction side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a little bit. A little bit. I mean, I don't know what like Emergent Church was. Like, what do you think the Emergent Church was doing? Why did it happen? What was it responding to? Why did it coalesce?
My opinion, there was something about authentic, wanting like a pursuit of the authentic as opposed to like cultural or institutional. Because you could say like evangelicalism was a cultural movement and the denominations were more something like the institutions, and there wasn't. And so it was a reach for like I mean, I would say even to this point, like you're making, like for the conversation, that's part of it. But there were also aesthetic parts of it. Like the modern worship movement was highly tight, acoustic guitars and candles, but also lights and experiential. There was the embodied part of it that I think was real too. Doesn't get talked about as much because it was hard to show that in books, but like, because Dan Kimball was the one that wrote Emerging Worship that I was handed whenever I was working for this church camp. They gave my first year as a worship leader, they handed me that book called Emerging Worship. So that's why I would look at it on that. But I think to this point, on the more general theme of this conversation, is how did you know about Rob Bell, and how did you know about whoever else you were, Donald Miller's? Because they built something. They built their brand. They built, they wrote a book. They made movies. They were interviewed in relevant, like, that kind of thing. And that's what's being contended with, because I think that's the other piece, because then like new atheism is getting called a publishing phenomenon. Like, couldn't you say something like that about the Emergent Church? Kind of, like a publishing phenomenon, and these people were and I think there was a missing component that we're reaching at, and I think that you reach at really well, related to the person, because and partner that with Grimm's breaking the fourth wall. Like, there was still like a huge fourth wall for Rob Bell and Mark Driscoll and not Brendan Manning, which that his book was part of that movement too, Ragamuffin Gospel. But Donald Miller, and I think that is a big part of a distinguishing factor from, I would say, the emergent thing is the breaking of the fourth wall in these spaces. So
Yeah, and we have to find a way. One of the other, this will be my last thought, but like I like Paul's sincerity, authenticity, profilicity, because it's almost a spiral dynamic thing.
Yep.
Because like sincerity culture is traditional culture, and then authenticity culture kind of started around maybe millennials, late Gen Xers, but it also was tied to growing up with Set and the advent of the internet, and now we're in the Zoomer culture, which is very pro-felicity. And I think there is no going back to just sincerity, because like that is the authentic thing. Like, what, I think we have to figure out what you want and how to wrestle with that. Like, I think what do you want is a big question, like even biblically.
Yeah.
Jesus says this all. What do you want? What do you want? I think you really have to wrestle with that.
Isn't that the Notebook meme with
yes, I love it. I brought it up in a live stream. Like, that is the question. But then faithfully connected to, this is the point of faithful innovation versus just a strict traditionalism, is like there's a way to be authentic and sincere to what has come before
in your profilicity.
Well, and that's what we're talking about, is how
Amen.
to walk that line.
Amen. So that's a great way to tie it up, and I think that really is helpful. So, dude, thanks for hanging today, and we'll keep bumping into each other.
Like and subscribe to my channel. Please connect me with Jordan Hall and Pavel, and someone support me on my KFO, whatever it is. I don't have one.
But if you ever feel the need to, don't be ashamed of it. If it isn't, if it becomes something that you feel like would be important for the investment of what you've given to this, don't be ashamed of that. That's
Venmo me at McMosav.
He's gone all in.
Yeah,
all right, man.
Good. Thanks, buddy.
Have a good one, and we'll end this thing. Hi, this is Christian Baxter, and you're listening to Yours Truly, a place we go to think out loud.